Yes. There we go.
Do it. He's good, right?
Well, that was just down home cooking.
That was sounds like biscuits, didn't
Yeah.
it? This is Eugene and Dylan. We're talking about guitars. That's Dr. Dylan Caligiuri right over there.
Oh.
It's Eugene Edwards over here.
Oh.
And I restrung this telly last night, so I'll be maniacally tuning throughout the show. So just forgive me. It's going to be really annoying.
Well, if at some point you switch to non-maniacal tuning, I would find that offensive.
We should probably discuss that non-maniacal tuning. We're just casually, just kind of, while you're talking, you're just kind of hitting an open triad.
Yeah, that's cavalier tuning.
Cavalier, kind of like I might be tuned, I might not be. I don't know.
But I don't even care.
I'll tell you. You know who has two thumbs and times his string changes with the first pitch of a Dodger game? This guy.
Wow.
And by the way, so I took. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm great. How about you?
I'm good. I'll tell you what. We were having a discussion before we went on the air. Because Dylan has a lovely little fan. It's pretty warm here in the Los Angeles basin.
Yes.
It's late August as it should be.
Yeah.
It should be warm. And you're worried that it was uncomfortably warm here in the house. It's very, very comfortable here in the studio. I'm very comfortable. But you have this fan, and then you says, hey,
don't you have a fan?
Don't you have a fan on stage? Like, don't you have one of these?
That's why I have that. Yeah.
And then all he could do was just stare at you, like, because all he could think is, why would I have a fan on stage?
And I was disgusted.
And then he couldn't understand why I would not have a fan on stage.
I wouldn't go on the stage.
So,
mandatory.
Talk to me about this.
Well, comfort is key.
Is it?
Yeah. And so, but it's just the fan thing is like, what am I going to wear, like a bandana to keep? You could, by the way, you guys, if you can sweat on stage, unbelievable amounts. It's incredible. Like,
and I do.
Yes, it's like being in a sauna at times. But the fan is your refuge.
Okay, here's my thing.
Black or white video.
Right. So I don't. It's not to like so my flowing locks look more majestic.
Well, they're not without a fan.
Not without a fan. So to me, to me, it's a little more James Brown, a little more Bruce Springsteen. To just
live in
it. It's okay for the audience to see your effort.
Yeah,
I'm fine with that, and I don't know that I want the audience to think that I'm as comfortable as I am just at my living room, just like whatever.
Well, the fan is not. Listen, it's not like a reprieve from all sweating. It's a mild analgesic to sweating, if you will. Very mild, astringent.
So no, I do not. I don't use fans on stage. But I went to a concert last week. So last week, right after we did last week's show, I took my daughter down to what I still call Staples.
Yeah,
I'm still calling it Staples Center.
Not Dogecoin Arena.
And I'll say so on Twitter. And you know, this is the first time.
There is no Twitter.
She's been to plenty of concerts. But this is the first time she chose. Dad, I want to see, when this guy comes to town, I want to see this guy. It was Zach Bryan. And he's like a country Americana guy.
Sounds cute.
And he's he's been around for about 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
About 4 years. And Oklahoma guy,
right.
Served in the military, singer-songwriter.
Sure.
And it was the most diatonic evening of my entire life.
Wow. So it was a lot of like 1, 4, 5
variations of that. And this is not, which is proper to the genre, by the way. This is how you know you're listening to like country or Americana, right? It's very diatonic stuff. And so it's not about like intricate melodies and half-step motion. It's really about very pentatonic melodies and scales that serve the detailed lyrics, right? And
very,
he's a very
bullet like vocals.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like very just right on the note.
Yeah.
Not a lot as melismatic.
Yeah.
You know.
And I'll tell you, an extremely young. Now it was a surprise to my daughter. She had mentioned this at the beginning of the year. She saw a billboard, and I knew she'd kind of forget about it in a way. And I made some calls because getting tickets was not easy, and made some calls, got the tickets, and she just knew that she and Dad were going somewhere after she got out of school. So she kind of dressed comfortably but nice. She thought maybe we're going to dinner. She doesn't know. And then we park downtown, and we get out of the car and we start walking, and a lady in front of us is wearing a Dwight Yoakam t-shirt and boots. And she sees that, and she goes, and then she goes, oh. She realized, oh, this is a country thing. The Dwight thing was a coincidence.
She didn't know it was a country thing?
She had no idea where we were going.
I don't think there's like genre limits with kids.
No, that's what's great.
I don't think they really.
It's the world we always wanted.
Yeah.
They're really kids. They're gonna see Zach Bryan this week. They'll see Beyonce next week. They'll see.
They don't care.
Which is great. I love it that way.
They're not even aware that that's something to take note of.
It's fashion. The cosplay is the only part of it that matters to them. But even that's great. They're like, oh, I get to wear this outfit. Let's go.
Yeah.
So
which is all anybody was doing to begin with, by the way.
Yeah, but do you remember the 80s? Well, I don't know if you remember. You're a little younger than I am. But in the 80s, when Metallica was out for the first few records, the argument, are they punk? Are they metal? There was like Guns N' Roses, same thing. It's like, wait a minute, are they hair metal or are they not? Like they were just like L.A. rock. They were a new thing. There was like fist fights at my middle school about this sort of stuff, and now these kids is like, I don't care. So, which is great. So, very young audience, very very young. I joked. I looked around. I thought this looks like a casting call for The Bachelor, the Ranch edition. But here's what's great. It sounds like I'm being snarky.
I'm assuming like country clothes had a utilitarian purpose.
Oh, I could do ours.
Yeah. So
so on a Western shirt, there's a long sleeve, and there's always that there's kind of like that stitching around the forearm.
Sure.
It's kind of stitching. Well, there used to be that was a leather patch, and the cattleman would test the branding iron on that leather patch, and there's a leather patch on the shoulder as well, because your rope would be over your shoulder. Too much work
to just take you need the leather because that's the actual skin you're testing it on.
Well, exactly. So that's, and then also you always have the rope over your shoulder. So that was a leather patch there. So now these are just like outlines of what used to be, but there's always
vestigial organs.
The very pointed toe boot. That's an old Spaniard thing, and that's so the boot gets into the stirrup quickly. Right. If you're never on horseback, you would use a round-toed boot because you're in the stables and you don't need a sharp toe.
Have you done a lot of horse riding?
I've done my share.
I've done a share.
I love horseback riding.
I love horse.
Man, am I off topic? Yeah. So I swear we're going to get the key changes. Honestly, of which, and there were 3 acts that night. Trampled by Turtles. You ever heard of them? Kind of bluegrassy, jammy. And then there was some kid on before them. 3 acts. No key changes, no modulations whatsoever. Not even a temporary one in the middle 8. Huh?
What's the demographic of the audience?
Just I'd say average age is between 15 and 30.
And
male female ratio maybe 70-30 or 60-40, tilting towards females.
Oh.
There's some families.
Yeah. It's a family gig.
But what was great though was Staples is sold out, and very young folks are seeing fiddle, banjo, dobro. There's some lap steel. There's so they're seeing those instruments again on a country stage. And
are you listening, companies?
There was a time when you would go to the average country concert, and this is not a complaint, it's just reality, about 15 years ago, and it was becoming rarer and rarer to see those instruments on a country stage. And now it's pretty cool that you're seeing. Also, Zach did this cool thing because, there was a general, open floor, and the stage was in the very center of the arena. It was this big square stage, and he had the microphones were set on all sides of the stage. So, he would just rotate per song. He would front here to that audience, and the next song he'd be over at this side, then this side, or in the middle of the song. He would cross over and sing.
Does he walk over, or does the stage move?
Stage does not move.
He's walking.
He walks across.
Is there a band?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like a 7 or 8 piece band.
Good
There's
God.
a lot of guys up there.
Good budget.
Yeah, good budget.
Yeah.
Good budget. Really good show. Great connection with the audience. I'm really happy for the guy. And then he dropped an album like the next day.
Oklahoma?
He's an Oklahoma guy. Yeah. Anyway, so Zach Bryan, way to go, guys. And it was great. My daughter sang along to all the words to the songs. I didn't know anything. I didn't know a damn thing.
Truck, pick up.
Just a lot
Nothing.
of that, man.
He's
Yeah,
got
people
nothing.
love him. So now, what have you got going on? And by the way, can you tell us about what you're playing?
Oh, I'm playing a Blue Ridge.
Oh, that's a Blue Ridge.
This is a Blue Ridge guitar.
I've played their Dreadnought, like their D28ish one. Fabulous. Very, very Martin.
Well, these are Chinese guitars,
Yeah.
right? And it should go to show you that China's been making guitars for U.S. consumption since Sino-American relations, technically, but for about 30
Thanks,
years.
President Nixon.
Yes, or whatever you want to couch that. But the point is, they've been making for about 30 years, and there are many factories in the U.S. have shut down. And also have been understaffed and under whatevered.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I think you can expect to see the quality curve move up in
there's
emerging
not
markets.
the stigma of made in China in terms of guitars is probably going to.
Well, and the quality will just continue to, America's becoming a little bit more like Europe in their guitar making, where it's like the handmade stuff.
The
Martin
boutique.
is technically a handmade.
We kind of talked about this a few months ago.
Yeah. But so the mass-produced stuff is really, you're looking at Japan or even more so China and
Indonesia.
Indonesia is going to be catching up to China. They're still way behind.
Yeah.
But and then of course Mexico and Latin America.
Yeah.
But Mexico more specifically.
Well, it sounds beautiful. It looks beautiful.
Yeah.
Kind of a would that mean is like a parlor style guitar?
I mean, it's not a heavy. It doesn't have a lot of low end.
Right.
But that's what makes it a great recording guitar.
Do you know the name of the artist who did that, Classical Gas?
Mason Williams.
Mason Williams. Do you know what his gig was at the time?
He was he a TV writer or something like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
He was writing for the Smothers Brothers.
That's right. Yeah, and that's why there was a TV show for Classical Gas.
Yes, he performed on TV. See what I did there?
Got that one.
So listen, look, we're going live, but we're like an hour earlier than normal. I have to be at a club gig in Hollywood tonight, and I've got to be there for sound check, rehearsal, yada yada. So thank you for anybody who caught our shifting timelines here, and if you're watching us live, fantastic.
If you're not, thank you.
If not, just come back anyways, and we'll try and get to any questions you may have. But I want to talk about key changes. Now, if you're beginners out there, you're just starting to learn songs, and you look up the chords on Chordify or somewhere, and then, or you read about it, or somehow that a song has a key change, and they go, okay, well then I can't learn that song because of its key change. That just sounds scary. I don't know if I'm going to completely demystify this for you in 45 minutes, but I want to at least calm things down a little bit and say that there's generally a logic to key changes. Now, I would advise, if you're going to watch this show right now, whether live or not, pull up a PDF of your circle of fifths. That comes into play in a lot of pop music in terms of how songwriters get from one key to the next and back again sometimes. But so if you have the ability to do that, also when we start doing our lessons on Till, that's the advantage when we do that, is that we will have PDFs ready for you. We'll have all sorts of things, handouts, if you will, at the readies. And here when
handouts
we do
on
these,
Till.
it's a little difficult to do that here, but until it's a lot easier. So another reason when we do make that
week
move week after next that you jump in the pool with us. Now, let me talk. So now, why do songs change keys? Well, songwriters are always looking to grab a listener's attention or to make it more interesting or more engaging, as often as they can. Now, they can do this by adding a solo or adding an instrument or adding a vocal harmony. There's a lot of things, bells and whistles you can throw into a song in the second verse to make it different from the first, yada, yada.
Sure.
One of the best ways to do this is add a key change. You can, because obviously the key of the song is its tonal center, right? That's home. So we're very relaxed there. So if you can smoothly get over to a different tonal center, that really catches the attention of the ear. And if you do it smoothly, even better. You could do it in a very jarring way. It can be done, has been done. We'll talk about that. But it's basically a wake-up call. In my opinion, it's usually a wake-up call to get the listener's attention. Sometimes it's actually very, very thoughtful. It ties into the lyrics. Maybe there's a shift in perspective. a shift in character. I'll have an example of that later on. So there's many reasons, but we're just going to dig into that a little bit. Now, I'm gonna throw a surprise at you because I know you do a Michael Jackson gig. At the end of Man in the Mirror, can you play the end of Man in the Mirror and show us the modulation? So he's doing the chorus right just before that. Before we work it. What key are we in now? G? Okay. Go ahead and get to I'm looking at the man in the mirror. So it's G. G with a third bass. C. It's like a D.
Right here. Yeah, something like that. That was a direct modulation.
That's called a direct modulation. We were in the key of G.
Right.
We were key of G. And then all of a sudden we just make that, and on the word change, tone painting, make that change, I'm looking, and then we continue the song. Now the chord changes, the relationships to each other are exactly the same as they were in the previous key. It's the one chord, and it's first inversion of the one chord, then it goes to the 4 chord, then the 5 chord, repeat. That's what we're doing in the key of G. This time we just do it in G sharp. It moves up, and that's is that a gospel trick? Is that a classical move? What is that?
So gospel stuff will usually move up by half step just endlessly. So it'll be like until like it's just to wear out the choir and wear everybody
Beyonce
out.
does that on one of her songs. I'm trying. Beyonce she has 4 of them in a row.
Yeah, that's about a gospel thing.
It's like really hit.
And that comes from hooping, where you hear the. It's called hooping. It's where you hear the preacher going, and I gotta tell ya.
Yes.
And they go and they'll modulate.
And by the way, even no offense, but even you doing it, it did something to me.
It did it for you, didn't it?
It works.
It's Eugene is here.
We're setting, and I'm an atheist, and I've been delivered. I'm totally in. I'm totally in. So that works so beautifully in Man in the Mirror, right?
Yeah.
And so that's a direct modulation, which simply means a direct modulation is where it just goes up half a step, maybe a full step, but there was really that D, was it sharp 9?
It's just D minor 7.
Oh, D minor 7.
Yeah, it's the voicing makes it sound like a sharp 9.
So, but does he play that chord earlier in the song?
Oh yeah, every time.
Right, every time. So we didn't change. We didn't use any special tricks or transitional chords there. We were playing a chord that we normally play at that part of the chorus, and then everything stops, and it went up half a step to the new key of G sharp. So that's one example of a modulation. Another one is one that uses what we call parallel keys. So this would be where, and if you don't know what a parallel major, explain to the good folks.
So we have relative major and minor, which we'll talk about later, but parallel major and minor just means it's the same letter name or the same, basically like key tonal center, like G, and it just goes from major to minor. So that's a direct swap.
So, Norwegian Wood by the Beatles, which we hear in the key of E, but John's capable of the 2nd fret, and he plays out of a D position, right? So, I once had a girl, or should I say, she once had me. She showed me her room, isn't it good, Norwegian Wood. Now here's the parallel minor, goes to D minor. She asked me to... D minor? Oh, I'm sorry, I should E minor because I'm capoed. Sorry, see what I did there? She asked me to stay and she told me to sit anywhere. So I looked around and I noticed there wasn't a chair.
Oh, that's right, 2-5.
Right?
2-5, and that'll take you back in.
And then it takes me back to... And we're back to D. I'm saying D because of my...
But it's really E.
It's really E.
It's actually E.
So, just to make things more confusing, I'm going to change the names of the keys from what I'm hearing to what I'm playing.
Right.
Point is, I'm making a D chord with a capo to sing the verses, and then a D minor for the bridge of the songs, basically.
Yeah.
Then it uses an E minor shape, then an A7 shape, which is the 5 of my D minor. It's also the 5 of my D major. So there's a name for that. So that's parallel major minor. Some songs will do that.
A lot of songs.
A lot of songs do that. There's one great, Every Time We Say Goodbye, the old standard, the old classic. My favorite version is Ray Charles and Betty Carter. There's a lyric. Something that I couldn't be finer, but how strange the change from major to minor. And the chord actually goes from a major to a minor on that word because of the sadness of it, which is exquisite songwriting, of course. So let's talk about that A chord or at least the shape I played when I had the capo, that helped me go between major and minor. And at the beginning, of course, I just went straight from like my D major shape straight to my D minor shape. It was just
courageous.
Boom. Just, yeah. It's real. That was pretty freaky of John to do that. But in order to get back to the major, he used the 5 of his previous key, which also was the 5 of his old key. So that's known as a pivot chord. So now if you look at your circle of fifths, this is where you'll start to kind of see how all these things start to relate. Now, a pivot chord is generally, if I get this right, that's a chord that are two different keys share in common in some way. Mm-hmm. Right. So now, again, is that an old classical thing? Is that something that you use in classical music, or is that a little more modern Western songwriting tactic?
No, it's so pivot chords share pitches from the original key that are used in divisive ways, voice leading ways. Okay. So, for example, if I'm in the key of G, and I'm going to go to G minor, that's a parallel minor. If I use the 2 chord, which is A minor, to get back to G. Mm-hmm. So the 2 chord functions as 2-4-1 in both keys, so it pivots between them. There's way more complex examples than that.
No,
that
there
is
are.
A very basic.
Well, that's
example.
kind of what I'm. One of my favorites is, and I feel like I've talked about this particular song and this key change on this show. So forgive me if I'm repeating, but maybe you didn't catch that show. The Beach Boys, "Don't Worry, Baby." So, which is when Brian Wilson's writing starts to, he really starts to show the sophistication. I'm going to go an E concert E. So it's essentially a pretty simple progression, really. The intro, it's just those vocal. It's the 1 chord, then the 4 chord, and then it's really an A over B.
It's a 5 chord.
But essentially, it's a 5 chord. Essentially, it's a 1-4-5 progression. By the way, this A over B, one of the easier chords to play in the world because it's just the middle 4 strings all along the 2nd fret. It's an A, but instead of an A in the bass, you put a B in the bass on the 2nd fret of the low A string. Really, really cool. Nice big suspended feeling. Then Brian sings his first verse, and he's a guy. He has a hot rod. He drag races a lot. Brian Wilson, and he's tons of anxiety because he's worried that he shot off his mouth a little too much to that guy with the other car.
Yeah.
And they're going to race for pink slips, ostensibly.
Pinkies.
Yeah, pinkies. Yeah. They're saying, and great melody. Now, there's a little lift going into the chorus. Talk about parts of song in that episode. He goes to his 2 minor chord, was F sharp minor, but when she, and then then his 5 chord, then his 3 minor, which is G sharp minor, to C sharp major. Now this chord in the key of E would normally be a minor. That would be the 6 minor, the relative minor, but not here. It's major, huh? When she says, "Don't worry, baby," F sharp major. He's gone up a whole step to get to his chorus, and he used this. And the pivot chord, in my opinion, is actually the G sharp minor, because that chord is the 3 minor in the key of E major. It's also the 2 minor in the key of F sharp major, our new key. So the key change actually started before we knew it, which to me is when that's how the great ones really do it. So again, it's but when she looks at me, and she says, "Don't worry, baby, don't worry, baby, don't worry, everything is alright. Don't worry, baby." Ooh, and then because that's the 5 chord of our new key, then he goes down to B, little sus4. Which is the 4 chord of our new key of F sharp major. Nothing tricky there, right, Dylan? Except for the fact that it's also the 5 of our old key of da, da, da. No, he's back to E major again. So in this sense, that B chord is a pivot chord.
Yep. Yeah.
Now,
it works.
what's really, really great about, and what a lovely thing to do in this very short teen pop song.
Sure.
Notice the key of E, the verse, it's the guy with the car who's singing, and he's totally freaked out. He's totally worried. In fact, there's even an element of, it's not just losing the car.
Yeah.
He's worried something really bad's going to happen, like a fatal accident. That's truly what he's worried. Well, teen death songs were a thing at the time.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Reefer Badness. I don't know what the song was on that, but
I don't think they
didn't have a...
Yeah.
Didn't have that kind of budget for the placement.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think it was just
It's
so. But then he tells us, but when da da da,
Sure.
but when da 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 da, and she says, "Don't worry." Now it's she's speaking, and she's up a full tone in F sharp. It's the voice of solace. There's a lift, the optimism. She's saying it's going to be okay.
Sure.
Back down to Brian,
Right.
down to the guy. And he does this back and forth, and I think it's just absolutely exquisite. So pivot chords, again, I don't know that Brian had a circle of fifths there on his piano.
I
Maybe
know
he
where
did.
Brian learned that from.
Where?
Church.
That's a church move, eh?
They're all church moves.
It's all church moves.
Yeah, sorry.
You know what? Well, no. Talk about this though. It's because like you always say, it all comes from the mass.
The Mass, yeah.
Dating back to 900, 1000, when they're starting to build the big cathedrals.
I mean,
Coming out of the
way before
the,
that even.
Oh, yeah?
Like Organum is from, like all the way back to like Jewish pre-Christ stuff.
They were doing okay,
Yeah. But by the
but
time...
they weren't thinking in keys. There was all modes then. Yes.
Yeah, because the instruments only allowed you to play in one key.
Right.
But they would, by the time Christ came along, according to record,
Yeah, in that era, that time.
There's a number of instruments that play chords, and so yeah.
As soon as we could do that,
Yeah.
we started pushing notes around.
Well, and we were doing that with human voices long before we had the
Oh, good
instruments
point.
to do it. Yeah.
Okay.
But the point is that what it is that the goal of the chord movements and the ways that the chords are moving is really more about what they were attempting to depict in the sort of operatic beat of a mass. So if it was Stations of the Cross, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like
Oh.
when Christ dies, prior to Christ's death,
They represent those different moments.
right. So how do we do
movements.
that musically is what the let's say Jasquan was thinking. And so he's thinking, how do I do that musically? And this is where these sort of lifts and these devices come into play.
Well, you're right. That is what Brian Wilson does in Don't Worry, Baby.
It's exactly like it's a
I mean,
literal...
the shift in perspective and voice, and this is happening. Okay, wow,
Yeah.
pretty heavy stuff. Hey, could you mind checking to see if we have any messages in the
sure.
thing? Because I
You
haven't looked
want
at all.
one
Yeah,
too?
sure, why not?
All right, here we go.
I got to do some of my own.
Oh my
Look at
gosh,
all these
look at
people here.
that.
Oh my goodness.
Oh. Preacher Dylan's hooping. Sorry about that, John. Well, I was just a little...
Wait, what did John Waby say? Or are we at the very top? It's cut out.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Or something about, are you guys rebranding? Did we talk? We just changed the name.
Well, you know why? Because
I forgot. I already forgot why.
and I'm trying to remember why. Oh, no, I remember why. Because the naming, it works better with our names in it because you actually know who's in the show.
That's right. Someone mentioned that. So you heard that someone mentioned that to you.
It's like, yeah.
If it's about you two guys, why aren't your names in there?
Like a marketing friend from
Fender or something.
Yeah.
We thought, oh yeah, that's probably why you're
Yeah.
a marketing person and we're not.
Yeah.
Sorry
about
that. So Rory is asking, what is a modulation? I don't know if I've answered that
Modulation.
technically.
Module means something that's separated, right? And like the suffix like ation means to move. So moving some sort of like piece of something, modulation.
Removing keys.
Yeah. And we're moving a chord progression, really, because if you just move if you just briefly enter another key, it's called a tonicization. So it's a brief tonicization of another key.
I forgot to put that in the outline.
That's all right.
Sean Brisbane says, hey, Sean, says, I played one song with a key change, Groovy Kind of Love by Phil Collins, although originally by the Trog? No, not the Trogs. Who originally did Groovy Kind of Love back in the 60s? I can't remember who it was.
No, it's not the Trogs, though.
No, it wasn't the Trogs.
Like,
he said it was cool. I'm trying to remember what the key change... oh, man. Sean, if you remember what the key shift was, I'd love to find out.
To us, Sean.
See if it was at a chromatic modulation. Was it a... all that sort of stuff. Sunny by Bobby Hebb modulates chromatically each verse.
Yeah.
We actually played a little bit when Angie was here, I think.
Yesterday my life was filled with rain. Sunny, in spite of me, and into the pain. Now the darkness is the last one. So clear and sunny. I love you. Sunny
goes up half a step,
and it's direct. It's
direct modulation.
Not even to the one of the new key. It's just literally that is a true modulation because that's a module chord progression, and it's just moved.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. That sounds beautiful. Good catch, John. Way to go.
Yeah,
Darren M says, did tonight's show start earlier than usual? Yes, we started.
It did, Darren.
We started an hour earlier.
Right.
You caught us.
Yeah.
You got to. And then mostly people are talking about us being early.
We're trying to be punctual, and we just overshot.
Last Kiss, Leader of the Pack.
Pre-recorded in front of a live audience.
And now John's talking about Teenage Death songs. Pre-recorded in front of a live. That's right.
That's pretty good.
We were going to pre-record, and then at one point we were just like, you know what? Let's just go live. Why not?
Yeah.
Acoustic question from Michael Storms.
Sure.
How do you balance between hitting the strings hard enough to make a good tone and just banging on the strings? How hard is too hard? No. So how do you regulate the velocity of how you're striking the strings on an acoustic guitar?
So
good question, by the way.
It's all about the space you're in and what situation you're playing in. So if I was going to play loud here, I would turn the guitar down, the mic'd part of it. And that would allow me to play more percussively.
And that's with a pick.
Now, if I turn the guitar back up, though, that's going to be like overages. It's going to be too loud. So it would either, if you're using a compressor, it would compress the stuff out of the guitar, or you would just overage. You would sound like it would be sort of not great
fuzzy
sounding. And so it's really about controlling the volume if you're plugged in. If you're not plugged in, there's really no way to do that other than what the guitar could take. So if your action's too low, you're not going to be able to bang on it too hard. One thing that's really cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
If the action's too low, then if you hit it really hard, you're going to get a lot of clicking, fret noise, a lot of banging. It's just you're not going to get a lot of pure notes to make a good tone, as you're asking, Michael. Also, string gauge. I have a Martin at home, and I just recently switched to a lighter gauge of string on it, which I play it more often. I had a medium gauge, like a Martin medium.
It's like 13
forever. Yeah. And then I just went one gauge lighter.
Yeah.
And I find myself playing that guitar a lot more. I also have it. Sometimes I'll tune it down half a step.
Yeah.
When I'm doing this,
then it's really going to make it slinkier.
So now I'm lighter touch.
Yeah.
Because if you're tuned down half a step or whole step, strings are going to be, there's more slack. They're looser, not as much tension. I've learned how to lighten up on my fret hand. Because again, if you press down too hard, things are going to tend to go sharp. And then in my right, and I go between pick and fingers when playing acoustic. It just kind of depends on how I feel. But I've noticed with that lighter gauge, I'm definitely being a little more careful.
Yeah. Which can be a problem if you want to be a drum set at a gig.
Well, here's the thing: is that I never gig with this guitar.
Right.
This Martin, it's
a couch picker.
It's couch picker. Or I make little videos for social media with it, and it just has to be loud enough to get into the phone.
Couch
basically.
and video picker.
Couch and video picking. So,
but the thing to remember if you're semi-pro or earlier in your playing is what happens is if you set your guitar to the action that you feels really good at home.
Do that.
When you go to play a gig, it's going to be probably too low.
And because of just adrenaline and excitement, you're just going to hit it harder.
And so people will I'll have students that like go and play a gig and they'll say, man, I just didn't play the way I wanted to play. And it felt like my guitar gave out on me, and it wasn't a strength. It was like, it's because your guitar is set up for a way lower sort of
Threshold,
stimuli.
not threshold.
Yeah, well, or just a lower intensity
There you
of
go.
playing. And so you have to anticipate playing more intensely. And if you're having trouble with your arm, I would just do like little bits of curl ups like this with like a water bottle, and you'll get your strength going to be able to have a little bit higher action and a little bit of
Smart. A water ball is great because it's light. It's really about. I mean, yeah, you just and just it's just kind of like light and easy, but long reps.
Both directions.
Basically, both directions. Point in fact,
keep you from getting tendinitis.
just we've been working on an album, a Dwight album, and in the studio this time around, I used a medium gauge pick.
Courageous.
Because live, I always use a heavy gauge
Yeah,
pick.
me too.
But in the studio, you went with a medium because I realized I don't want to strike the string as hard as I do during a concert.
Sure.
I want my pitch to be very true.
Yeah.
So from the attack point, the string's not moving as hard. So plus, I can I can turn up as loud as I need to in the studio. And we're getting tons of information into those microphones through those amps. So I didn't feel I wasn't competing volume wise. I'm not hitting it. So throughout the record, use a medium gauge pick so that I could play a little. Like my attack could be softer actually.
Sure.
And then, but when we play this material live on stage, I'll be using the heavy pick.
Yeah.
Because it's a different dynamic situation. So that it comes into play at all levels, really, Michael. So thank you for the question. Back to key changes, or we can do more questions if y'all have them. If we surprise anyone.
Rory says, Mole
of Kintyre has a big key change. That's Wings. That was a huge song.
Oh, Wings, the Wings song.
Yeah, Mole of Kintyre, Mole of Kintyre. Now, what's tricky about that is I believe it has bagpipes on it, and bagpipes only play in B flat, correct?
Well,
They may have used other
no.
pipes,
There's
though.
a piece that you can change keys in.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was mistaken.
Well, you can't change keys, but you can move to what's called So when you keep talking about the circle of fifths,
Yeah.
the nearby keys to the key you're on are called the related keys.
Uh-huh.
And then the ones that are directly across from where
All the
you're
way
at
on the other side.
are also related keys. So, yeah.
Huh?
All right, it's mind. I know. Ha!
But they're called something else, no?
Well, if they're directly across, they're a direct analog, right? Because
Like C and F sharp.
right, so C and F sharp would be directly up and down. So those are a tritone apart.
Tritone.
Those are tritone is the most relatable amount of distance, which is why this is always used to move into this.
Okay.
And a 5 chord really is a diminished chord
Yes.
going to 1.
Well, if we know from our family of chords,
Yeah.
in the house of dominant, there's only 2 chords that fit. It's our
Yeah.
5 chord and our 7 chord,
Yeah.
which is essentially, it's like a half diminished
So
in general.
if you really, let's
Really
say you
gonna
had a
nerd out
song
here, man. I love this stuff.
that you wanted to. So this is your song.
Okay.
Sorry. And you want to make each one of these like a tonal center. So you're almost going to each key. You would approach them by either first inversion chord or diminished chord. So. Sorry. So.
Wait a minute. Okay, what are you doing? So you're playing D, F sharp, and A.
Yep.
But before you play each of those chords, you're playing.
Half step below. It could even be just literally a chord, but it would sound better at first inversion. Yes. There you go. So now listen to this. Listen to this. Go. Amen. Amen. Amen.
You're right. It does feel
They're all
like it's
from that. That's where it
changing
comes from.
keys each time.
It's not only from the mass, it's actually from the particular sections of the mass.
Oh, it reminds me of "Lonely Boy" by Andrew Gold.
Yeah. It just does only 2 of them.
It's just doing 2,
Yeah.
but then afterwards, and then it starts. So he really starts to kind of like groove. His changes are pretty crazy in that
So
song.
do all diminished chords then. So if you do.
Oh,
That's the same concept, the same basic idea. Like you're 5 chording each one of those.
I'm gonna wreck tonight's gig in Hollywood because I'm gonna be trying to jam this onto these other songs that have already been prepared, written, and rehearsed.
This is the thing we haven't mentioned yet, but the way you can solo and create tension in your soloing that's not even in the chords is you imply a key.
Let's do this. I'm gonna. You're gonna.
You guys
okay,
are witnesses.
I'm gonna play.
That was assault.
I'm gonna play your D, F sharp minor, and A.
Okay.
Okay. I'm just play that over straight up. You're gonna solo over that and do what you just said. 2, 3, 4.
I'm just going into the other key really quickly.
Just dipping a little
That's
bit.
it. Now you can go way more into the other key. So let's say we're moving from a to a 4 chord, right? So it could be so that was briefly tonicizing the 5 chord of the 4 chord before going to it. So
Well, the 5 chord of the 4 chord was the original chord I was playing.
I'm sorry. The 2. Let me think about this. I was playing over the 2 chord.
So you're playing a D7.
Yes,
Notes from the
over
D7 chord
the C.
over the C.
That's right.
Do it one more time.
So. That's the same thing right there.
Okay.
So I'm literally just spelling the 5 chord, 1 chord, 5 chord, 1 chord.
If you want to add a little pizzazz,
A little bit of
just if you want to start, if you're at that intermediate level, advanced level, and you want to kind of, you kind of like want to push things a little bit, try this. Try this idea where you're actually kind of playing, you're outlining another chord from the key.
Well, you do it. So you play D, and then play A, D, A. Go back and forth between D and A.
Okay.
Okay, now D and C sharp minor. So now the more you stay in C sharp minor, the more it's going to sound outside. Whereas if you go back and forth, it's going to sound like you're... Anyways, you get the idea.
Yeah. I even slipped a little E minor at one point over the D. Okay.
So you can hear it. You can tell.
You can hear it. You can tell. It takes bravery, right? Because you really step out and like, I don't know if this is going to work. And you have to get used to hearing
Stick to pentatonics.
All right. Back to, one more little key change thing if we have time.
Yeah.
One more move, please. Can I go back to me Google Docs, please? Here's one that I always love because of how fast. Oh, wait. Let's go to some questions, though, because I can always do more key change stuff on another episode. When you played Sunny with Angie.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. We did modulate. Is that so you could just jam on it without ending up in the rafters?
No, it's just so it doesn't get boring. It's really, a lot of it, like, from the musical side of it, it's just, there's only so many ways to add intensity that a standard listener would understand. So listeners that don't play instruments really don't hear anything except vocals.
Sure.
And so if you say something about music, they'll go, yeah, I think I hear that, but they'll hear tone first.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll hear like the quality of a sound, like the way a saxophone sounds breathy or the way a guitar sounds plucky. They wouldn't necessarily hear a harmonic movement per se, because they're just not seeing that road sign.
I go to a lot of Dodger games.
Well, so there's two factors there, and those are the two physics factors of music, right?
Go ahead.
You can keep doing it. There's speed, and then note change, which is also the speed of something vibrating, right? So intensity is brought up when you go up in key generally because physics. because like the new note vibrates faster than the old note, and so it's basically it's unconscious. You don't have to know anything about music.
Right, but the organ player is amping up the anticipatory.
They don't know why per se though.
Yeah, but it's working.
It's working.
But you don't have to if you just enjoy music and music.
I don't know why
having an effect on
flowers
you.
look good. I have no idea.
Okay.
Nothing.
We know they do.
I know they do.
Yeah.
I just know that they are lovely.
We bring them on a date.
But if I went to the flower store and said, "Hey, can I have these flowers?" They're just going to laugh me out of there. You know, they'd be like, "What? Genus species? They insert genus species name here. It's Chromanthusum stapulvi," and I would go, "Yeah, those." Yeah.
And then he hands you like a piece of chocolate.
It's like, don't ever come here and direct modulate again.
Out of here with your bougie
pizza.
I've been chasing vocal melodies
Steve
on
Baloney. Hey, Steve.
What?
Steve's a Fender alum.
What the heck? Giving us a little devil horn, the rock horns. Michael Storms also says, I've been chasing vocal melodies on guitar lately. What melodies are great for guitar? That's a great... Oh, gosh. Boy, so many come to mind, actually, oddly enough.
Wait, so I've been chasing... Oh, gosh.
Meaning... Well, no, like he's like, playing vocal melodies, but playing on guitar. I would think like, well, Stevie Wonder comes to mind. Also, any of the Beatles stuff, mostly that Paul wrote and sang, because Paul, his melodies usually go up and down a scale of some sort. I've talked about that's a vocal melody, as we're like John's melody to, this isn't fair to John, but John's melody to Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds.
Rock and roll. Yeah, but that's because the chord progression, the way the chord progressions.
Well, that's one of my key change songs.
Okay, all right.
Or it's gonna be. We're running out of time. But I would start with. Well, actually, what do you have any ideas for like vocal melodies for him?
Yeah. So if you're new to this, right?
Yeah, he's new to it.
Start with like theme songs, because they're designed for you to literally be able to instantly grab them, right? So if you have.
I was just singing this to my kid the other day because she knows nothing about the Flintstones.
All right, so that would be a good one to start with, or anything like that, right? Because you're not really trying to stylize
something that you just know really well.
Because the goal with learning melodies is not to read them from anything. You want to learn them. The first time you learn melodies, you want to just start transcribing by ear. You don't have to write anything down. But this is your soiree. What was that? Is that Who's the Boss?
It's from Friends.
There's a time for love. Oh. And a time for taking. Take a chance and make. Am I on? Am I right?
It's two different songs. Mona.
Angela. So this one. So.
Oh.
So anyways, you get the idea. But it goes on forever, right? We're gonna do it. I don't know. I can't. And then. Yeah.
And the actual title of the song? Oh, modulation! Direct modulation. He tied it all back in. He got it all together. Oh, that was so smooth.
But you could learn just the. Suicide is painless. Just the top melody would be enough to learn. It's the whole point is to do it by ear. Go with something kind of slow and easy.
Okay.
And melodies should be learned by ear, because then you'll learn how to stylize them out of the gate. If you wait, if you read them, you really don't learn how to stylize.
Yeah, because you're going to stick to the notes because you trust them because they were dictated to you.
That's not what singers do.
That's not what humans do. Good point.
Yeah.
All right, I buy it. One more song with key changes. Can you get back to my Google Doc? I like the Plymouth reference there in his last. That was pretty cool.
Well, I didn't see it. Where is it? Here?
I don't know. Oh no, it's behind.
Behind. Oh, I get it.
It's behind the. Yeah. Or I thought it was.
Well, come on.
It's just gone. You lost it.
Wait
oh, there.
Is this it?
Yeah, that's probably it.
Okay.
So here's a song that goes through key changes very quickly, but somehow smoothly. Do Uptown Girl. We'll give Billy Joel a little love. We're guitar guys, but we can talk about Billy Joel. So fashioned after like a Four Seasons kind of doo-wop, East Coast sort of thing, right? It's in the key of E major, then the 2 minor.
Is it? Yeah.
Yes, it.
Oh yeah. Okay.
E with
Such
a
bad
G
piano
sharp in the
key.
bass.
So it's like,
So it's like a 1, 2 minor, 1, 2, 4, 5. So I think Uptown Girl, very
Family
diatonic,
chords.
nothing tricky. After this B, chromatic move up half a step to the new key of C.
that's the modulation.
That's a modulation, goes up. But by the way, we've gone from E major to C major. Again, if you look at that circle of fifths, these are not keys that are right next to each other. So that's a
Normally you would go to C sharp minor.
Yeah. Again, this break a 1, 6, 2 minor, 5, almost ice cream changes. Very simple doo-wop stuff, but he's making it very compelling because he's shifting keys in these kind of dramatic ways, which I think is really, really impressive. So then a B minor, 7 flat 5, which is the 7th chord of the C scale, we'll call it, kind of. It's close enough. And then E7 with a sharp 9, which really means just one note changes. But this E7 is now the new dominant 5 chord to our new key of A major. You see, I'm not so tough just because I'm in love with an uptown girl. Back. Wait, briefly in the key of A to the relative minor. 2 minor, B minor.
Well, 1, 6, 2, 5.
1, 6, yeah, but then the B minor.
It's extended
And then
by making it B major.
Parallel major.
Right.
B major's the 5 of our old key of E major. Uptown girl.
I mean, each one of these terms
Really
has to be sort of studied to be able to follow along.
Am I going
with
too
that.
fast?
Well, I don't know. You guys let us
Not
know in
for
the
him.
comments, right?
I'm sorry.
1-800 Eugene's going too fast would be one way to do it. But yeah, I mean, each one of those concepts sort of has to be explored. But you know what you can do, though, is your point is it's sort of an osmosis thing. I don't know that you have to understand all of that. They're devices, meaning they are to be used. I don't understand how a fork is made.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, assuming there's a blacksmith involved, I have no idea, right? Something.
I don't know.
I don't know, but I do. I eat with them on a
But you use
regular
it.
basis.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't want to wade into this. Okay. A comedian said this. So I don't want to wade into this. But a comedian said how his brother wouldn't take the COVID vaccine because
Yeah. Oh boy.
'cause he's-
Oh,
no,
you're gonna
no,
get
hold
us.
on. No.
We're gonna get
No.
something's gonna happen.
No, this is tiny.
We're gonna be taken out.
We're fine. We're fine. And he says because his brother said, "Well, I don't know how it works." And the comedian's response privately, he just said, "Okay," and he left him alone because this is right.
Yeah.
But he thought, "Geez, I don't know how a zipper works, but Lord knows I still use it daily."
Sure.
You know,
But you
so-
can get caught in the zipper.
I'm not saying
if you know what I mean.
that- Now we're gonna get canceled.
Now we're definitely getting
Actually, me talking about COVID vaccine was safer than when you went.
Yeah.
Anyway, the comedian was Dana Gould. You could write to him. He could take it. Okay. So I love these are key changes that I adore, or at least songs that we've heard. I ostensibly think we've heard of Norwegian Wood. We've heard Man in the Mirror. We've heard Don't Worry Baby. We've heard Uptown Girl. These are now. It's been a long time since major pop songs have had any key changes. Beyonce, notwithstanding, she did that gospel thing.
Oh,
what
most-
song is that? It's driving me crazy.
Most of the pop songs have key changes in them still.
Do they?
It'll be like a 4-chord key change. So it'll like
Oh,
modulate
like
to the
it'll.
4.
That's kind of just
Yeah.
lightly.
But
sitting
it'll
over.
so the closer to that key, so the relatable keys in either direction are going to be less noticeable.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
they're a fifth or a fourth away.
Right.
in either direction.
If you look at your circle of fifths chart,
Right.
notice those are just going to be one tick over to the left or the right from
Correct.
what he's saying, right?
Yeah.
So, and then there's all those songs, and we can talk about other songs on another episode where this is a great one where what key is this in? Like songs that just don't even quite have a fixed tonal center. I'm looking at you, Baker Street.
Well, a lot of
I'm
those
looking at
songs
you,
don't
God
start
only
on
knows.
the 1, and that's why they're tough.
Okay, there would be that.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about songs that honestly, even as you go through the whole song, then this thing's floating between 2 or 3
We call
keys.
that through composed.
What's it called?
Through composed.
We're going to do a little episode on through compose because I just found out what that meant. I love songs that, just back me up here a little bit. Hello, it's Eugene Edwards here. I'll talk about songs I like. There are songs that don't reveal the one chord or our root chord, our tonic, if you will. I'll have a gin and tonic. Until later in the song. Sometimes we don't hear it until the chorus comes up. I love that. It's almost like Spielberg not showing us the shark until the third act of Jaws. Back to Dylan.
I'm so scared.
All right, by the way, the Angels totally blew the Ohtani trade, not trade thing. We can go into that, but we won't. But if any of you baseball fans out there, I feel for you, Anaheim. I do. I don't know how to use this tracking thing because it's upside down. Okay. Somebody made a Joe Dirt reference. How's a rainbow made? All that stuff. Hello from Mississippi. Corona. Oh, Snowden in Corona.
That's
Hello.
Snowden.
Well, we know who that is.
And he's in Corona. That's Derek Snowden in Corona.
I know, Dylan.
You guys, he's actually in Corona.
He's at the mothership as we speak, over in the big factory. Just go up a whole step at the last verse, like my solo cup.
Absolutely.
Right. Okay, there you go. You go. Love Baker Street, the great Jerry Rafferty. We might walk through those chord changes just because it's such I think a beautifully composed song, and it's about a person, a character who's desperate to go home. He feels very isolated and alienated in the big city, and he wants to go back to his country life. And I think there's a reason why Baker Street doesn't have a fixed tone, because our character doesn't have a fixed tone. Great stuff. Tone painting, if you will, right? Listen, we'll be back next week we'll come up with some sort of topic, and I'm sure we'll be live at our normal time. If not, just stay tuned to the Facebook community page. Best place for any sort of updates. Drop more questions, more comments. Any more songs that you guys love that have key changes, or if you have questions about, hey, is that a key change, or how did that work? Drop us a line. I'll be on the road this weekend. I'll be able to hop on the computer and take a look a little bit because I'll be stuck in Amarillo. Thank you so much, Dr. Dylan Caligiuri. Thank you so much, Rex, for being a good boy, being nice and quiet. And thank you, the public, the people. Can't do it without you. Actually, we do. We sit around and talk about stuff like this all the time without you. Just occasionally we turn on cameras and microphones. That's the magic of the show. All right. Cheers, everybody. I'll see you at Gold Diggers in Hollywood later tonight. We're still left. How? How do we press stop?
You have to press stop.
Where?
No, it says
on the
stop
tracking
streaming
pad?
right there.
Where?
Stop streaming.
Stop
it. It's in English.
Where?
Down, over,
but it's upside down. I can't see that.
Right there. Down a little bit more. There you go. Stop streaming.
Bomb?
Yeah, now, yeah, it's okay. You have to say yes. Good.